I used to think mistakes were small things. I thought they were like spilled water or wrong answers in a test. You clean them up, say sorry, and move on. I was wrong. One mistake can change everything. This is my story. It started on a normal morning. The sun came through my window, soft and warm. My alarm rang, and I turned it off without thinking. I stayed in bed a little longer, staring at the ceiling. I remember feeling tired, not in my body, but in my heart. I felt like my life was moving too fast, and I could not keep up. That day was important. I knew it. I had an interview after school. It was for a part-time job at a small bookstore near my house. I wanted that job so badly. I wanted to help my family and also feel proud of myself. My mother reminded me many times, "Don't be late. This is your chance." I got up, got dressed, and ate breakfast quickly. My father was already at work. My mother was quiet, but she smiled at me. I could see hope in her eyes. That made me nervous. At school, I could not focus. The words on the board looked blurry. My friends were laughing and talking about silly things. One of them told me to skip the last class and hang out at the cafe nearby. "You deserve a break," he said. "One class won't change anything." I knew I should say no. A small voice inside me warned me. But I ignored it. I wanted to feel free, just for a while. I wanted to forget my stress. So I said yes. We laughed, drank cold coffee, and talked for hours. I checked the time once, then again. My heart started to beat faster. I realized I was late. Very late. I ran as fast as I could to the bookstore. My hands were shaking when I opened the door. The manager looked at me with calm but tired eyes. He checked his watch and then looked back at me. "You're late," he said simply. I tried to explain. I talked too fast. My words felt empty. He listened, then shook his head. "Being on time is important here," he said. "We need someone responsible." That was it. The interview was over before it really began. I walked home slowly. The sky looked darker than before. Every step felt heavy. When I reached home, my mother looked at my face and understood everything without a word. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about that moment. One choice. One mistake. I did not know yet, but that mistake was only the beginning. The next morning felt different. I woke up before my alarm, my chest heavy and tight. The room was quiet, but my mind was loud. The manager's words kept playing in my head. "You're late." Such simple words, yet they hurt more than I expected. At breakfast, my mother placed a cup of tea in front of me. She did not ask many questions. She never did when she knew I was hurting. Instead, she said softly, "We all make mistakes. What matters is what we learn." I nodded, but inside, I felt ashamed. I knew this mistake could have been avoided. That day at school, everything felt slow. My friends talked like usual, but I felt far away from them. The cafe laughter from yesterday felt like a bad dream. When the friend who invited me to skip class joked about it, I forced a smile. I did not blame him. The choice was mine. After school, I walked past the bookstore. I stopped across the street and looked at the window. I imagined myself inside, arranging books, greeting customers, earning my first paycheck. That dream felt broken now. I turned away quickly, afraid someone would see me standing there like a fool. At home, my father returned from work late. He looked tired, his shoulders low. During dinner, he talked about bills and rising costs. I sat quietly, my food untouched. Guilt grew inside me. That job could have helped, even a little. That night, my father came into my room. He sat on the edge of my bed. "Your mother told me about the interview," he said. I waited for anger, for disappointment, but his voice was calm. "I missed an important chance once," he continued. "I was young too. It still stays with me. But it also taught me something." He looked at me and said, "Pain can be a teacher if you listen." After he left, I cried quietly. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears soaking my pillow. I cried for the job, for my parents, And for myself, I realized regret is heavy because it reminds you of who you could have been. The next few weeks were hard. I applied for other jobs, but no one replied. Every rejection felt like a reminder of my mistake. I started doubting myself. Maybe I was not responsible. Maybe I was not good enough. One evening, while cleaning old boxes, I found a notebook. Inside were my old goals, written in simple words. Help my family. Be dependable. Make them proud. I stared at those words for a long time. That was when I understood something important. The mistake did not define me. My response to it would. I could let regret pull me down, or I could use it to stand up stronger. I closed the notebook and took a deep breath. I did not know how yet, but I promised myself one thing. I would not waste the lesson this mistake was trying to teach me. Part of me was still broken, but another part was ready to change. Change did not happen in one day. It came slowly, like morning light entering a dark room. After my promise to myself, I started paying attention to small things. I woke up earlier. I finished my homework on time. I helped my mother without being asked. These actions felt small, but they made me feel more in control. Still, the memory of my mistakes stayed with me. Sometimes, while walking to school, I would remember the cafe, the laughter, and how careless I had been. My chest would tighten again. But instead of running away from that feeling, I faced it. I told myself, remember this. Don't repeat it. One afternoon, my teacher asked me to stay after class. I felt nervous, thinking I was in trouble. Instead, she smiled and handed me a paper. It was a notice about a school program. They needed a student helper to organize events and manage time schedules. It was unpaid, but it offered experience and a recommendation letter. You are quiet, but I see you trying, she said. This could help you grow. At first, I hesitated. Without money, it felt useless. But then I remembered my promise. Growth was not always about money. Sometimes, it was about discipline. So I agreed. The program was hard. I had to arrive early, stay late, and work with many people. I made more mistakes at the beginning. I forgot papers. I misunderstood instructions. Each time, my face burned with embarrassment. But this time, I did not run. I apologized and fixed what I could. Slowly, people started trusting me. They noticed I was always on time. They saw me taking notes, double-checking tasks. For the first time, I felt reliable. That feeling was new and powerful. At home, my parents noticed the change. My mother smiled more. My father nodded with quiet pride. They did not say much, but I could feel their support. That meant everything to me. One evening, a message appeared on my phone. It was from a small grocery store near our house. I had applied weeks ago and forgotten about it. They wanted to interview me the next morning. My heart raced, but this time, it was not fear, it was determination. I prepared my clothes the night before. I set 2 alarms. I even practiced my answers quietly. The interview went well. I arrived early. I spoke clearly. When the owner asked about responsibility, I told the truth. I admitted I once missed an important chance because I was careless. I explained what I learned and how I changed. He listened carefully, then smiled. Mistakes show character, he said. If you learn from them. I walked home feeling light. For the first time since that day at the bookstore, I felt hope again. I did not know the result yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I was no longer the same person. The mistake hurt, but it was shaping me into someone better. 2 days after the interview, my phone rang while I was helping my mother in the kitchen. My hands were wet, and my heart skipped a beat when I saw the unknown number. I dried my hands quickly and answered. "Hello," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. It was the grocery store owner. He spoke calmly, without rushing. Those few seconds felt like hours. Then he said the words I had been hoping for. I got the job. I thanked him again and again. When I ended the call, my mother looked at me with wide eyes. I nodded, and she pulled me into a warm hug. For the first time in a long while, Our house felt lighter. My first day at work was not easy. I had to wake up before sunrise. My body felt tired, but my mind was clear. I arrived early, just like I promised myself. The store smelled of fresh vegetables and clean floors. I put on my apron and took a deep breath. The work was simple, but demanding. I stocked shelves, cleaned spills, and helped customers. Some people were kind. Some were impatient. I learned to stay calm and polite. Every task reminded me of my past mistake. I worked carefully, afraid of becoming careless again. One afternoon, a customer complained about a wrong price. I felt panic rise inside me. In the past, I might have avoided the problem. But this time, I faced it. I listened, apologized, and asked my supervisor for help. The issue was solved quickly. After that, my supervisor patted my shoulder. "You handled that well," she said. That small praise meant more to me than she knew. It showed me I was growing. At school, things were changing too. My teachers trusted me more. My friends noticed I no longer skipped class. Some teased me, but others respected me. I realized not everyone will walk the same path, and that was okay. One evening, while walking home from work, I passed the bookstore again. I stopped, just like before. But this time, I did not feel pain. I felt understanding. That mistake had closed one door, but it pushed me to open another. At dinner, my father raised his glass of water and said, "I'm proud of you." His voice was steady, but his eyes were soft. Those words stayed with me long after the meal ended. That night, I thought deeply about my journey. The mistake was not just about being late. It was about choosing comfort over responsibility. It forced me to face the truth about myself. I learned that growing up does not happen when life is easy. It happens when you accept your faults and work to change them. I was still learning, still far from perfect, but I was no longer afraid of my past. The mistake that once felt like the end was becoming the foundation of something stronger. And I knew one final lesson was still waiting for me. Time passed quietly, like pages turning in a book. Weeks became months. My routine settled into something steady. School in the morning, work in the afternoon, study at night. It was tiring, but it felt honest. Every day, I showed up. And every day, I remembered who I used to be. The job at the grocery store taught me more than how to earn money. It taught me patience. It taught me respect. When I received my first paycheck, I held it in my hands for a long time. It was not a big amount, but it felt heavy with meaning. I gave part of it to my mother. She tried to refuse, but I insisted. Her smile said everything. At school, I was chosen to help with a small event because of my work in the program. I stood on stage, holding a list, making sure everything ran on time. As I looked around, I felt something change inside me. I felt capable. I felt trusted. One afternoon, a younger student came to me for advice. He wanted to skip class to hang out with friends. I saw myself in him. I did not lecture him. I simply said, "One small choice can follow you for a long time. Choose carefully." He nodded. I hoped he would listen. On my way home that day, I realized something important. The mistake no longer haunted me. It had become part of my story, not a shadow, but a lesson. I stopped blaming myself. I stopped wishing to go back in time. That night, I wrote in the same old notebook I had found before. This time, I added new words. Be present. Be responsible. Keep growing. I closed the notebook with a calm heart. I understood now that life does not change because of one mistake alone. It changes because of what you do after. My mistake forced me to grow faster than I wanted, but it also showed me my strength. I am not perfect. I still make mistakes. But now, I face them. I learn. I move forward. That one careless day changed my life forever. Not because I failed, but because I chose to rise.